name is Denny S. Bryce, and I'm the author of Wild Women in the Blues. But today, my special guest is Kaia Alderson, the debut historical fiction author of Sisters in Arms. Oh my goodness, thank you so much for being here with us today on your debut
Thank
day.
you for
Oh,
having me.
Oh, this is so exciting. I'm just thrilled. I had the opportunity to read an early arc of the book and then a later arc, the book itself, and
Mhm.
it's fabulous. It's absolutely fabulous. But
Thank
let's
you.
dive right in. And Kaia, please tell us about Sisters in Arms.
Sisters in Arms is inspired by the real life, all Black, all female battalion. It was actually the only all Black, all female battalion to go overseas during World War II. It was the 6th Postal Battalion, and they went over to sort the mail and get it out and get it moving again to boost the morale of the troops after D-Day. My particular book follows two women who actually wind up as two African American women who wind up in the first officer training class of the Women's Army Corps, and then they eventually go through their journeys and wind up as a part of the 6th and wind up in Europe.
Yes, and those two women, they're fictionalized characters, they're
Yes.
composites of some of
Yes.
the research but Grace and Eliza
Mm-hmm.
are just so, you just want to know more about them. They are so much, they're so alive on the page. And what a wonderful entree into this amazing story. But tell me some more about how the 6888, is that I'm right,
The
was
6th
formed.
yes.
Who were the, before Grace and Eliza, who were the gals involved who made it happen in the first place?
Ooh, that's a yeah, I could go back through the whole history of the Women's Army Corps. Basically, to make it short, the mastermind, if you will, behind it all was Mary McLeod Bethune. And for those who don't know, Mary McLeod Bethune was a force within the political world during the 30s and the 40s. She started her own college, what is now Bethune-Cookman College down in Daytona Beach, Florida. And she was really good friends with Eleanor Roosevelt. And through her connections in Washington, she was able to be in what they called the FDR's Black Cabinet, where it was a bunch of movers and shakers within the Black community that basically had his ear. She was the head of the National Youth Project as part of the New Deal. And when the Women's Army Corps was formed in 1942, she was positioned, if you will, where she was able to get her voice heard and made sure that Black women would have the opportunities to become a part of the Corps, to have leadership opportunities, and eventually would get the GI benefits that all the other World War II vets got. So,
Whoa.
and so that's how they wound up in the Corps. And then the whole point was to get work experience to show what we can do for the war effort. So it was Bethune, along with a lot of other Black leaders that were pushing the military and the government to send a unit of Black women over to show what we can do.
Oh, that's wonderful. That so much research involved in pulling these facts together and then making those facts such a page turner of a story. What did you find most surprising about what you discovered? If there's something that comes to mind that you were like, oh my God, or, or oh my God.
Mhm. I talk about it in the book is because of the times, the 1940s, part of the pitch they had to get people to join the Women's Army Corps is no, you're not going to be a big manly soldier, you're going to be in support work. So for the women who did go overseas, the 6th as well as women of other ethnicities that did go over, they had no weapons training. So they were going into an active war zone without any weapons, no guns, no anything, or not even knowing how to use them. They did get some training in terms of what happens should their ships get boarded, because the submarines were a big thing. German submarines were a big thing. But basically, when the 6th even went over, it was towards the end of the war, but it was still an active war zone. They did see bombings. The first contingent that went over was chased by a U-boat. And so that I was like, wow, sexism will have you in
Yeah.
these type of situations. But what was really cool is once the women of the 6th made it to England, they actually set up jujitsu classes for themselves. So they learned on their own in their own free time, hand-to-hand self-defense tactics in case anything happened.
Okay, very, very much taking care of their business on many ends. There's another aspect of the story once these women arrive in their destination, and that has to do with letters. And tell us a little bit about that, because I don't think it gives anything away.
No, it doesn't.
Spoilers, but tell us about what they were able to do and accomplish in that regard.
Okay, because a lot of people, when they hear about them, is like, what's the big deal? They sorted the mail. And it's like, yeah, that's true. But you also have to understand, especially if you've ever been away to boot camp or in the military or in college, sometimes you're just having an experience, and that letter from home means everything. It's a little bit of normal in this chaotic world. And basically everyone was saying the war was going to be over by Christmas. So we're not going to focus on the mail right now. We're going to focus on getting troops where they need to be, supplies, and all of that. Well, Christmas comes around, January 45 comes around, war's still not over, and now you have about 6 airplane hangars full of mail backlogged sitting in England. And I'm not sure if you've ever been to the airport and see those airplane hangars. They're pretty huge.
Yeah, it's not
so that's
daunting.
Yeah.
It's the
Yeah.
daunting.
Yeah.
How did you just stumble upon this story, if stumble is the right word?
That's correct. That's very correct. It all started with this picture. I don't know if you can see it. It floated down my timeline on Twitter 8 or 9 years ago.
Okay.
I've always been a geek of sorts when it comes to World War II. I love the stories about the women. So intellectually in my head, I always knew Black women had served. I had just never seen the picture. And when you see the picture, you're like, whoa, because I knew it was World War II. I could tell it was somewhere in Europe. And I was just like, what's this? So thank goodness for Google, very quickly figured out who they were. It was the 6888, and there was surprisingly a lot of information written about them. The commanding officer, Charity Adams, had published her memoir, One Woman's Army. So I was able actually to find a lot about them quickly and figure it out. And as I'm reading this, I immediately think, you know what? I want to flip the script on the Soldier Boys Last Night in Town story. I have Soldier Girls Last Night in Town story. And that's how it started. I was going to write a historical romance about Soldier Girls Last Night in Town. That Colonel did make it into the book. There is a great sequence that I call it great because I had so much fun writing it, where she has her last night in town before she ships off to war.
You're a debut author in historical fiction. What does that mean? What is that like for you this week?
I have no idea what to expect. I've basically heard the rumors where it's the week before release week, and the week after. So I've kind of like cleared my life to be prepared for whatever. So far, I've done a lot of cool interviews. I've done some articles. I've been pitching stories. So everybody has been very receptive. I also got to speak at ALA, American Library Association, for their convention last month. That was incredible because I was able to do a recording. And then while the recording was playing, I was able to interact with the audience in the chat. So I've just been having a lot of fun with this.
Pull up the book cover again so that everyone who is watching can get a look at this gorgeous cover in addition to the gorgeous insides. This is Kaia Alderson. The name of the book is Sisters in Arms. Do you have a parting comment that you'd like to make for people who are watching us this morning?
I just want to say I am so appreciative and overwhelmed by the reception of this book, and I'm so grateful, and I really hope you get to enjoy this book. This is not necessarily a book of my heart, but this is a book as a reader that I've always wanted to read, in terms of there's a little bit of adventure, a little bit of romance in a setting that you wouldn't typically associate with Black women in the past.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, and congratulations. Kaia Alderson, Sisters in Arms, available August 3rd. Go out there now. It's ready for you. Thank you.